welcome to Alpha Book Club.
Is that true?
I'm Rachel Heine, and joining me
that's
tonight
really
is my friend, Geek and Sundry's Hector Navarro.
What's up?
Oh no, that's
What's up? Let's read books.
I don't know why that's back. Didn't you do that before and we asked you not to do it
Yep,
again?
that's true. You asked me to never do it again. And guess what? What's up?
And let's give a warm Alpha Book Club welcome back to Mothership's Amy Vorpal. Yay! Welcome
Hi,
back.
I'm a classy lady. What is up?
Amy, I'm just expecting you to, after you say that, to just like cut a fart. Just for the humor of it. Like, hi, I'm a classy lady. That would be really funny.
Yeah, we
Is
keep it
Chief
classy
on there? He
Alpha
could do
Book
that.
Club.
Yeah.
Oh, Big Mama also has that.
Maude is currently trying to figure out what color an apple actually is. We miss her. I haven't seen her in like a month because I was out sick and I had jury duty, but
Yeah.
we'll see her soon. Welcome to our Alpha community. We hope you're having as much fun as we clearly are.
Yay.
It's author Roald Dahl's birthday today.
No
and since-
shit.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Since this is a book club, we wanted to ask about your favorite Dahl books. Hector, Amy, and of course chat. Let us know. Favorite
Gosh.
I will
books
say,
and adaptations. 'Cause
List,
we talk
yes.
about adaptations
okay, because I was
too.
going to say list them because I don't know what everything that Roald Dahl has written is.
Charlie,
Matilda.
Yep.
Matilda
Oh,
was
yeah.
is let's get into
The big
BFG.
friendly
Oh,
giant.
the big fucking guy?
Uh,
Okay. That's a
the
good-
Witches,
The
Witches.
Witches was
Charlie and the Great
terrifying.
Glass Elevator,
Yeah, the
Ooh.
Peach, James and the Giant
James
Peach.
and the
Oh my
Giant
God.
Peach.
Can we talk
Also,
about-
my answer, cutting in here,
yeah,
is
Whoa, calm down, Amy.
his short stories, which
Yeah.
haunt me to this day. The one about specifically I cannot pick a flower or shave off like even a blade of grass without like imagining the screams, because he wrote some effed up short
gosh.
stories.
yeah.
Yeah, I
He's
think
great.
it's pretty clear that he was the Roald Dahl. He really was. I'm not just saying that. I actually say that all the time. Anytime in my normal life I want to say the real deal, I end up saying the Roald Dahl.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So thanks, Roald.
I didn't even
Roll.
know. I was just laughing because I was like, oh, I know that's a joke.
But I don't
know what that joke
the
is.
joke is.
My
I just thought
favorite-
you were saying the author's name again. I'm like,
Nope.
yeah,
I don't
he's-
think I've read any Roald Dahl for real. I haven't read any
We
yet.
have to read
I would love
some.
to.
Oh my gosh,
My,
that
fav-
would
my
be
favorite
so good.
adaptation, I think I got to go James and the Giant Peach, the stop motion.
Henry Selick.
There are people in the city very far from here, and they're very, very far away from here. Very far away. That's
Favorite.
Yeah.
Hold on. We're gonna get deep into this. I'm sorry. Don't tell me to wrap up because we're gonna talk about Roald Dahl.
Alpha Karaoke Club.
Let's get the tangent going. This was an actual discussion topic, so it's not a tangent. Favorite character from the James and the Giant Peach movie? Mine is the spider, voiced by Susan Sarandon.
Susan
Sarandon.
Sarandon?
Some people say
Sarandon?
that.
Susan Sarandon?
right?
Was she the one
I've
that
always
was
said
married to Tim Robbins for all those years? Or together? with
And
him?
her brother is Chris Sarandon.
Sarandon.
The
I'm sorry, Rachel.
Prince-
Nobody's ever said
Prince
Sarandon ever.
Humperdinck.
It's always been Sarandon.
I know
That's
it's
so
Sarandon,
weird.
but I think it's actually Sarandon.
It's not like a Kim Basinger, Kim Basinger situation where she had to correct people.
Somebody look it up.
Susan
But
Sarandon's never said it's Sarandon.
I loved the spider
Really?
because she looks like a French beat
Yeah.
poet goth chick, which obviously I love.
She was great. I think I loved the Fancy Cricket or the Ladybug Lady.
No.
They're great.
I don't remember that movie, but I do
I wanna
remember the
rewatch
girl
it.
who played Matilda,
Oh yeah.
and I follow her on Twitter, and
Oh,
she's
she's amazing.
hilarious.
She's
Mara
great.
Wilson.
Mara
She
Wilson.
wrote a
Mara
book. She
Wilson.
Came, yeah, she's a writer. She came on an episode of Fangirling with
She did?
me and Alicia.
Oh,
yeah,
holy
and I
shit.
flipped out because I loved
Yeah.
Matilda.
Yeah.
I used to.
She leans into it too. She's like, "Yeah, what's that girl?"
She was, yeah, I mean, it was, and she was also Mrs. Doubtfire, but
Yeah.
Matilda for me was a big one because it's like
Mm-hmm.
a kid who feels left out, loves to read, and
Yeah.
everyone can really identify with that. I feel like.
Telekinesis,
But then
which
she has
you had,
powers,
Rachel.
which-
You
Yeah.
also had telekinesis when
Oh,
you were
did you
younger.
do the thing like when you were
Yeah.
a kid? Did you sit there and like see if you did for hours? Yeah, because I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boys did that too, but for like X-Men.
Yeah.
Was our like
Oh,
comic
really?
like
You were just trying to
superhero
find
stuff.
your
Yeah,
ex?
where like X-Men said
like
like
moving a
when
fork,
you
you're like,
when you hit puberty, you get power. So like when I was in midst of puberty, every day I was like, do I have powers? And then when I kind of got over that hump, I was like, this sucks.
No, everything's just shitty.
Everything's just shitty. I got hair in weird places and I feel funny all the time and stuff hurts.
Java Book Geek Girl says it's a tie between Matilda and The Witches for me. The Witches is also a great book, and that adaptation is so good. And Angelica Houston, so cool.
Oh my gosh.
And so scary.
So scary.
Oh, yeah. I need to watch The Witches.
Equally scary as the book. The book is terrifying. Well, I remember it being terrifying. I can't remember the last time I read it, but it was haunting.
What is it about? Was Roald Dahl, he was like a children's author, correct?
Well, he was definitely a storyteller.
Yeah.
He wrote children's books that were classified as children's books, but
Yeah.
but
They
that
were
fucker
freaky.
had some real shit in his brain. Like it just was real terrible.
Yeah.
Like those short. I just read one of his short stories. They're totally effed up.
Okay.
Well, if you
I
look
want to.
into like the Twits, there's that line that people quote from the Twits all the time that's about, I can't remember it, but maybe someone in the chat can pull it up. And it's probably a couplet, maybe it's a rhyme. And it's about people who are good inside seem more beautiful the more you get to know them because they are kind people, and
Yes.
people who are
Bad
evil,
inside,
like
yeah.
the Twits, just become more and more horrendous. So he played with these childhood stories, but they dealt with like witches eating children and making them disappear and turning people into mice. And I really loved Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator too, which is the sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where they go into space in the elevator.
Cool.
And there are aliens and stuff. It's so cool.
Oh, that's awesome. DeMarco Draw says he hated kids. He had dark issues.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I will always prefer original, because obviously Gene Wilder is just the best,
Oh,
but
yeah.
original Willy Wonka versus new one, because original didn't show what happened to the kids at the end. And the new Tim Burton one was like,
Also, the
here's
new
a
one's
here's just right, but even then, just like on paper, like here's the changes we made. Here's a stretched out Mike TV or whatever when the little kid walks out, like, you know, that they all lived. And I remember as a kid thinking, because I didn't read the book, but I was like, I think that the author basically kills these kids. And the movie's
can't
doing the
show
same
it.
of the original, and they can't
Yeah.
show it, or at least, you know, you don't know their fate, and that's part of it, because that was what it was like for children's authors back in the day. They were always gnarly.
Yeah.
And same with
Gnarly.
with movies
Yeah.
too. My like favorite genre is the like fucked up kids movies from the 80s, like The Witches,
must have
Return
loved
to
it.
Oz. I
Oh
did.
yeah.
Okay, great. Cool.
Labyrinth
Labyrinth, Dark
is my
Crystal.
favorite movie. Labyrinth is in
Yeah.
dark. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Labyrinth is my favorite. I'm going to a Labyrinth masquerade for Halloween, and I'm really excited.
Oh my gosh.
That is
Who are you going to go as? Jennifer Connelly?
No, because honestly, if I'm gonna go as Jennifer Connelly, I'm gonna do Jennifer Connelly in the ballroom scene, and that means I need to spend like $3,000 on like a perfect replica. So I can't do it, or
Oh,
I'm not
no.
gonna. But I am gonna do a masquerade version of my costume that I'm working
Ooh,
on. So I'll
cool.
let you guys know. Okay, so DeMarco, I'm not talking about eating people. It's the story. It's not me.
You do.
I'll never live it down.
You do.
So,
You do always mention how Rachel likes to. She would eat people.
No.
I think, what was it you said? Like, you're like, if
We don't need to
push
get
came
into
shove,
it. It's-
I would eat people.
No,
Something like that?
That's not what I said. What I said,
This really just got weird.
what I said was that the dinner parties on Hannibal look really good, even
Oh,
though I
yeah.
know that they're
Oh, okay.
cannibals. And then I may have, as an aside, said
So
maybe I would
hypothetically.
try people.
So yeah, maybe it is hypothetically, but yeah, you would eat people.
If it was that good, if it was that well
No.
prepared.
I mean,
wouldn't
there's
try it?
obviously
Would
some
you
requirements.
try it?
I mean, I'm
I'm
adventurous.
intrigued by it.
Right.
I'm
That's
not
hilarious.
a cannibal. Anyway, let's return to The Giver. So we read the next section, and I have to say, the way that this section ended when it was like, call me The Giver, I was like, first, he said the name of the book, but
Yes.
also, I want to keep reading each time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
smaller
was hard to put
sections.
down. Also, especially because I actually, after the last one, I was like, that show was so fun. This is kind of like a really relaxed, easy show. And Hector's like, yeah, I mean, you're getting kind of the easy part of it because we're reading, you know, a 50-page section.
Right.
A book, like a page has 100 words on it. You're fine. But on those, he's like, actually, when we're reading, you know, chunkier books, it's
1984
not as
was a
it's not
bear,
as easy.
man. It was tough to get through.
1984 was tough.
Yeah.
The Gunslinger was rough for me.
Really?
Yeah, because
That was a challenging one, certainly, but it was still one that I enjoyed the challenge of. Do you know what I mean?
it was so stark.
I love books that it takes until page 300. Like everyone's like, oh, the beginning sucks. But when you get to page 300, the rest of the 700 pages are really good. And those are the books that I'm like, I really like those books. Because it feels like, like you overcame a challenge.
Yeah.
You climbed the mountain. You braved what no one else was brave enough to brave.
You guys, I got through some bullshit Tom Bombadil stuff to get to a really good book. To get to a really good book called The Fellowship of the Ring. But you got to spend 100 pages with Tom Bombadil. And he sucks. He's the worst.
Disagree.
So what did you think, Amy, of this section of getting to read part 2?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was coming. I knew he was going to be the receiver, right? But I didn't know how, and I loved the tension building up. I actually, I mean, I hope it's okay to say that Maude responded, like, when she was ill, that she couldn't make it, that she hated the giver.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
I know, I can't
She's
wait
not
for
having
her
and
to
then I
come
said,
back
and then I
so she
said,
can ruin
I responded in the email chain. I was like, oh, Maude, first of all, I feel better. Secondly, like, maybe watch the movie because it might help with some of these. Because I want to talk about some of the challenges in this book in a second. But I was like, maybe watch the movie and it'll make you like it more. And she was like, I did. It didn't. So I was, all right, sorry, Maude. She's not into the giver, but you're enjoying it.
But I'm enjoying it. Yeah. I mean, I still have like a nostalgic connection to it, but even still, I think it's a really good story, and it's kind of building up, and it got a little weird with the hands on the back, a little weird.
Yeah.
But
it got full sci-fi.
And
what's
no, I
think-
mean with
you
an
think
old
like
man
an old
creeping
man
on a little boy.
touching a young
Yeah,
child.
that's creepy. What is it? I'll get to the section where he's just like, take your shirt off, get on the bed. Like, that's
No,
basically
not
what he
this
says.
again.
Huh?
I don't like your
My giver?
creepy
That's
Jeff
what he
Bridges.
sounds
I
like,
know,
Rachel.
but after
It's
what
a
you
shitty
did
Jeff
last week,
Bridges
it's ruined it for
impression.
me.
Yeah, but I also think
Which they gift, by the way.
Yeah.
Me like pretend storming out
Oh,
because
really?
of the giving. Gonna give it.
I actually, as much as I think that it was a good joke, I still think there's like some. I'm in Game of Thrones land where I'm like, yeah, that could be it.
It could-
The
it
giver
could.
fathered. They had him father someone.
But they want to keep him solid. I feel like it's more a council of elders, which I want to talk about because last week we were saying, is this right now? It seems like a utopia, even though parts are coming out where you're like, people are disappearing and people aren't allowed to be named a certain thing, which I have a funny story about that. But this idea that is it a good thing to have people work in these fields that might work, like becoming, what would you have become if they assigned you?
Right.
But
which shows up in the Divergent series and even Harry Potter, like that everyone gets to be in a
Sorting
place.
hat.
The sorting
Yeah.
hat, the little
Yeah.
stones in the Divergent.
and if that's good, but then in this one they get more into who's making all these decisions, and it's a council of elders, and then you're like, okay,
And
who are these weird
and
old
that woman
people?
is a total C word because she I said that. I cursed every other time. That one I wouldn't say.
You're talking about the Streeper. You're talking about Meryl Streep.
Yeah, but she is, because she put them,
Yeah.
as much as she knew that their emotions were, scientifically balanced out with meds, she still put them through, all of them through the ringer with Jonas's,
Yeah, that's
stressful.
messed up.
It's
Can
messed
you
up.
imagine? You've been waiting your whole life for this moment, and you know exactly how it's going to go, and you know exactly how everything's going to go, and
Yeah.
then they skip you?
And your screw-up friend got exactly what he wanted, and you're like, wait, I never screwed up. That guy, that guy screwed up all the time.
Yeah, that was interesting because I cannot imagine what that would be like, because like you said, there's so much emphasis put on that ceremony and in this society that there's no frame of reference. It's not like us going to the DMV and getting skipped, because even in that frame of reference, we know what to do. We can ask, excuse me, there's a procedure for that. But nobody even told him what happens if you get skipped. There's no, you know what I mean? You're told your whole life there's a procedure for everything, and then something happens and you think you're freaking out and you think you're crazy and you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because no adult has told you.
Because there's no guide.
Which is different even than schools and being young in the world today, where it's like you can ask an adult, you can go get help, you can, there's still kind of a safety net of that, of you can raise your hand, you can, and you're not going to be completely, released or killed or whatever. Nothing bad's going to happen. You're just going to. So I could not imagine what that was like, and I think that Lois Lowry did a good job of showing us Jonah's fear and his anxiety with that moment. That's real
And
stressful.
the numbers, like you that's like a way to gauge like how long things are going. Is like in narrative ways, just putting numbers to it. And
That's
it was
true.
like he was 19, and then it went for a long time. I think 50 or 60 or however many numbers he had to sit through, and he was saying every time somebody called the new number, he'd be like, oh wait, okay, not me. And he did that for countless times, 30, 40
So
times.
all the way into into
All the
40s
way.
or whatever it was. Thrash Odin in the chat says, I like it because it explores the freedom of choice and the freedom of no choice.
Ooh,
Sometimes that is a freedom. Like Loki said in the Avengers movie, you want to be ruled.
well.
That's what freedom is.
That's
It's
not
to
Have
be
you guys read
subjugated.
like Malcolm Gladwell's The Paradox of Choice? Or there's
No.
a chapter in I think The Tipping Point that's called The Paradox of Choice, and it's like if there's
read
too
The
many
Tipping
things to choose from, you're just frozen with that frozen of choice.
Yeah.
There's too
yeah,
many. But
that
I
happens
think
all the
there
time.
should be some,
Yeah.
for sure.
And then you get into, are we going to have another one of those those philosophical discussions, like if we're high, but we're not, right? Are you high, Amy? I'm not high.
I just want to get into it, you know.
like,
I'm here.
Like, is there really such a
and
thing?
you're
is there
here.
really such a thing as choice? Like, really, if you think about it?
Yeah, because society provides a certain framework for you, and depending on what system you're born into, you
Boom.
only have a set number of choices that are predestined for
Yeah,
you. Is that
and
what you mean?
Women
Yeah.
have fewer choices.
Sociopolitical,
Yeah.
and people of color, and people living
Yeah.
in poverty, even less.
I mean,
Yep.
I'm just looking at you and I see that you're 100%, mauve.
What does that mean?
It was just me pretending to be high.
it's like a philosophy
good. That's
101
pretty good.
conversation.
Here's Jeff Bridges telling a kid to take his shirt off.
Oh no.
No, sir, Jonas said. Downhill? Term means nothing to you? Nothing, sir. Well, it's a place to start. I've been wondering how to begin. Move to the bed and lie face down. Remove your tunic first. And that's when he tells him to take his shirt off.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because we've it is weird. I didn't
is weird.
pick up on
It is
that
weird.
when I first read it.
Jonas
but
did
it's-
so a little apprehensively.
Yeah, it's it reminds me of all of the scenes with Harry and Dumbledore and the pensieve.
Yeah, but he doesn't touch him.
No. I mean, in terms of this
Do this thing
sharing
and
of
I'll-
knowledge. No,
Yeah.
the touching
Right.
is definitely weird.
It's just physical contact, you
Well,
guys.
yeah, and it obviously is the
kids were
way it
touching
works.
Elders
yeah.
too.
Sure.
The kids were they're washing elders
That's
in the
true.
beginning
That's
to kind of
true.
ease you into
and
it.
they
That
had
it's not.
the opposite sex that they were washing too. I noticed too.
Oh,
like,
really? Like on
the
purpose?
boys were washing women,
Women?
and the girls were
Oh.
washing men. I
So
believe.
Yeah, it's
maybe
fine,
to make it a
but-
little jarring that there was an old man who put his hands on
I
Jonas.
just
I guess.
think, look, there's no escape for this poor guy. Like he's there, the door's locked.
Who,
He's
Jonas? Yeah.
Jonas is at the giver's mercy.
He's 12. He's an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's just at his mercy. Like, yes, I'll do that thing. I'll take off my shirt. I don't know. There's a lot happening, which I just think. Look, there's something a little creepy about it. One, two. The giver. Look, he should just be a little more like. Let's just get to know each other.
Before I start touching on you, and you start touching on me.
Yeah, because it did. He was like, "That's enough for today," and I'm like, it felt like it was. I mean, obviously I have no idea of frame of
Because he was
time. but it
tired.
Well, it's possible
Yeah.
he's tired. It's possible that Jonas can only take so much of this at one. Oh no, that like in his mentally that having all of
mentally,
these concepts. I'm just gonna breathe.
Come
past
on, that was such a
And then-
deep. That was sexual, that was a really
No,
deep,
that's-
like
no,
gutter
You're the
mind.
worst.
It was real bad. And then,
And
at
that's
the end
working real hard
at
for
the end
it.
of the day, the giver, he's given all he can. He gets wiped out because he gave 3 times.
Stop.
That's a lot for a day of
Okay,
giving.
Now
He
there-
gave 3 times, 3 memories
But
he shared.
look, he can't even have a conversation with Jonas because he doesn't understand the language that he's using. There's no concept for sunshine. There's no concept for cold. None of
Yeah.
these things exist, which makes you feel like, what does this world actually look like besides gray? That's all we really know. Everything is flat. Everything is simple. Anything that would have... It's sort of this idea... This is another kid's book. Did you read The Phantom Tollbooth? Have we talked about this?
No.
No, not yet.
The Phantom Tollbooth is fun. It's a lot of like wordplay, and it's they deal with like the king of rhyme and reason and all these different things. But they go to the doldrums where everything is flat and gray, and you like sink into this marsh pit. And it feels like that where if there are no mistakes and nothing can go wrong, nothing can go right either. Nothing can be good.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
And so you
nailed
can't
it.
really feel joy. You can't feel, and maybe when you're a kid and you're learning, but as you take this pill, who knows how much that actually pushes down. You get assigned your spouse, you get assigned your child. Everything is given to you. So it's not just choice, it's that you don't know anything else. So when he does this, yes, it is very creepy that he touches him, but when he's doing that, it's like it's like if you couldn't see see color just on a base level, that's one thing, but if you didn't know a whole language, you didn't know concepts about anything. If you were like a caveman and you got thrown into modern society and you were like, here's a cell phone and here's TMZ and Donald Trump and all these things, you'd be like, I don't even know what words to use.
This is a little bit of a tangent, but a podcast I listened to is Script Notes, and they were recently talking about, they did it in the 80s, how do we do it now? Just movies that may or may not have a remake in them. And one of them was Coming to America, and their argument was probably not don't touch it, like don't touch it. But I wanted to email. This is my version of emailing them because I'm not going to do it. But to actually, instead of it's still a pretentious rich person coming to trying to start from the ground up in a new society. So instead, make it. And since they touched on some weird racist stuff, instead make it a white person, somebody who is just an American middle class, like one of us or something like that, and have them go literally anywhere, and then have them be the asshole. That may not be an asshole or trying not to be, but in the end, like that person.
In the new context.
Yeah. So they're not goofy or weird. They just have a lot to learn in terms of like cultural awareness.
That's one way to do it. Here's another movie you could never remake from the 80s, to stay on that tangent. Weird Science, I think. We've moved past that with the little boys that make a weird Suji wire model. Yeah.
I blame Weird Science for a lot. Culturally. For
You'd be right to
internet
do that.
comments.
You'd be right to do that. I think
Couple
it's
of
Weird
things.
Science,
I like
Revenge
it,
of the
but
Nerds,
Revenge of the Nerds.
and probably, I don't know, maybe even Back to the Future. People don't give enough credit to like how creepy George McFly is, like Peeping Tom, who gets the girl at the end, like that, like maybe some of that in there. Up in the
friend
tree.
zone, stalkery, entitlement.
Yeah,
of,
but definitely Weird Science.
Yeah, Weird Science and Revenge of the Nerds for
Thrash
sure.
Odin said, when I was little, I asked my older brother
I knew you were
what The Giver was about. This is true. When I was little, I asked my older brother what The Giver was about, and he said it's about an old man who gives it to a little kid, and then that kid gives it to somebody else. And that's accurate. That's what the book is about. That's what the book is about. But no.
I like what Java Book Geek Girl says too, that part of the interesting thing with the giving is also how Jonas truly experiences those memories, which is what reminded me of Harry Potter.
Yes.
It's not just hearing about the experience from someone else. He's experiencing it physically, visually, emotionally, etc.
So let's talk about that for a second, because here's when the book got fully sci-fi for me.
Yeah.
Fantasy, fantastical sci-fi. Because
How does it work?
Right, and I don't think we ever know or learn. And when I was a kid and read this, I don't even remember how that worked specifically. Looking back all these years as an adult, that when I watched the movie for the first time a few weeks ago, I was like, wait, what? Is this how it was in the book? I thought that he just shared memories, and I forgot the actual process was like supernatural, where like he put his hands on him and then Jonas experienced it himself.
Yeah.
Reading it, I thought that I'm agreeing with Java Book Geek Girl. I think it's a really, really cool way to do that, as opposed to just having a book be about a man like educating a kid. Like, here's a book, read about war, here's what snow is, and that it's like this like really sci-fi element, whereas everything else up to this point was just kind of like not sci-fi but just dystopian, or like future technology of like, okay, repressing things with pills and and controlled sort of genetics, like that's not outside of the realm of.
That's more like realistic futurism.
How did the actual like transferring of memories, how did that work for you guys when you read it?
Well, I was the same as you. When I saw the trailer for the movie, when that came out, I remembered it being like, wait, why is he in winter? Like, I was like, I don't remember that part of the book at all.
Yeah.
He never, I didn't think he was actually there. And in the book, it's very clearly says he's there. He's doing the things. And the one question I'm left with is who, and two questions. How long is this timeline? Because they do bring up the notion of years and stuff like that. But if there's no seasons, then what is a year and all of that? And then two, whose memory then are you repeating? If the giver has literally, he says thousands and thousands of snow rides and snow sleds, it's like, wait, so in order to transfer everything, are you going to transfer all of those to him?
I think so. I think what it is memories passed down from as long as there's been this system. As long as there's been this system of
Giver, receiver.
Of remembering how things were, and maybe we'll get into more painful memories down the line that that should maybe scare Jonas into keeping the order of things the way that they are. But I always felt like did we get a description of the giver's eyes?
Yes,
they were
did.
pale. They were pale.
Yes, we did.
That's why I texted Hector after that, and I was like, "That could."
I think that's the.
Oh, I thought it was another father theory, and I texted you, and you replied with an amazing GIF. Your GIF game is on point.
It's true.
Hector's GIF game is great.
I'm a good gift giver.
Yes, you sure are. And he responded with the weird wrist massaging part from the movie.
Yeah,
and
the
I thought,
gift, yeah.
that's a perfect gift to respond to my stupid theory with.
Yeah, I really do think that it's something that's either genetic or they try, because we know that there was a failed receiver 10 years ago, girl.
Taylor Swift.
Whose name they don't even use anymore.
Yeah. You think
I think
she's
that
the mom?
No, I think that they're potentially, because look, and someone else theory I think pointed out, they're not having sex. So it's not sexual because they don't have sex at all.
Do you think they're
no
just
one has
like
sex.
implanting?
But they might. They
don't.
Like they're
Only
just
the birth
fertilizing
mothers.
eggs?
I mean, they might, but the society doesn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's the giver and the receiver when it was Taylor Swift, because I don't. But if they had sex, and
I don't think
the baby-
anyone outside
Yeah.
of the, and I
Birth
don't
mothers.
think they're having sex either.
Yeah.
I think it's
Artificial
very
insemination.
clinical and
Agreed.
scientific too, because they're getting rid of babies who don't make it that
It's
far.
like Gattaca.
They're trying to create, which is a horrible thing, a perfect person.
Yep.
And getting rid of certain genes and heritages and other things. And so I think that they probably are creating givers and receivers through
genetically.
something. And so I think
Jonas was like predetermined.
Yeah.
Right here it says
They've
it was
been
a man.
watching him.
It was a man Jonas had never noticed before, a bearded man with pale eyes. He was watching Jonas intently.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why. That's why
He
I think.
might be his
That's why I
dad.
think the little joke last week of the giver is the dad. It is maybe not
have
so much
some-
of a joke.
And that might be why Gabriel has the same ability. You know what else I think is so funny? Maybe this is just like a nitpick, but Lois Lowry's idea that like these things in this society is bad, that you shouldn't like genetically control obviously how people are born and the things that they can do, and that to remove things like art and sex from a society is bad, and that even in an attempt to strive towards equality, which is what the society is supposed to do, that's bad. She still makes her protagonist and all of her main characters have pale eyes, which I think is very like Eurocentric. It's very like couldn't everybody in this world have blue eyes, but then like Jonas and the Giver have brown eyes, and I feel like Lois Lowry just kind of falls back on that classic like blonde and blue-eyed people are the most gorgeous, but like a little bit of you know what I mean, a little bit of that. I was like, that's all right. Somebody with pale eyes, you don't say. They're the special. You don't say. I've never seen that in a literature. Oh, that's amazing.
yeah, that's a good point.
The other thing I just thought of is talking about freedoms. Because one thing that bothered me while I was reading it was, well, they've kind of controlled everything, but there's still apprehension, anxiety, fear, and all that stuff, which makes humans humans. And there's still some deterrence from the rules of like, oh, we're gonna ride a bike earlier than we should, ah ha ha ha.
And that's allowed.
And that's allowed, but I think that's like that's the way, that's also controlled, like, oh yeah, you can feel like you're breaking the rules, which gives you a little more humanity, but we still know how you're breaking the rules.
Correct.
And you don't know that we know, know, like that this was all part of the plan, because we know that no matter how much we control you, you're still human, and you're going to fudge some things. So
we're going to give you the stuff to fudge.
we're going to give you the stuff to
because
fudge.
that's low priority fudging. But if you try to fudge some high priority stuff,
Yeah.
you're dead.
Get released.
We're gonna kill you. You're getting released.
Yeah.
But also, I think in order to control a huge population like this, you need those people to feel fear, because if you didn't feel fear, why would you worry about it?
Yeah.
And the anxiety. But
That's
yeah, I
true.
think it's very strange, because they've gotten rid of everything, and yet they clearly want more. You see his little sister wanting the bike. Another weird thing was the
ambition.
jackets.
Oh yeah.
The weird jackets.
Oh, you have it highlighted.
I do. Because I was like, this is so weird. The little girl nodded and looked down at, so it's when Lily doesn't want to wear hair ribbons, which do not blame her.
They're the worst.
And she says, I don't like hair ribbons. I'm glad I only have to wear them one more year, Lily said irritably. Next year I get my bicycle too, she added more cheerfully. There are good things each year, Jonas reminded her. This year you get to start your volunteer hours. And remember last year when you became a 7, you were so happy to get your front button jacket? The little girl nodded and looked down at herself at the jacket with its row of large buttons that designated her as a 7. 4s, 5s, and 6s all wore jackets that fastened down the back so that they would have to help each other dress and would learn interdependence.
Cute, super cute.
I don't
Yeah.
find that cute at all. I find that really creepy, learning interdependence on
Yeah.
this community
Yeah.
and
That's
not.
actually, you know what's funny? That's actually something I liked, and I thought was like, oh, schools should do more of that, where you force little kids, kindergartners and first graders, to like, you need to help each other. Whether it's help each other dress or like help each other get food or help each other like clean up or whatever. Like I'm like that I like, as opposed to just like, you know, doing whatever you want. And if that's Lois Lowry's example of how each year when you're a kid you get independence, like little by little sort of
Yeah.
thing, until you get to 12,
Right.
and then you're considered an
Ready.
adult. To just drive point that home of like, this is from the perspective of a child character, and this is going to be really impactful for young readers, obviously,
But I
that
do
they're
underst-
feeling all of those
I
things.
do understand your feeling. I kind of am with you on that, on how it felt weird. It's because I think dressing, and this is why the tunic thing, it's like, it's so intimate. It's this intimate thing that like, you know, as a kid I don't know, but like you hear kids play doctors or whatever, and it's like, yeah, you're like you're
some
taking
strange
off a
lines.
piece of clothing has always been a little bit erotic.
I
And
always
is that bad
Right.
or healthy? For me, I think, and this might be because I have a chip on my shoulder, but I'm always like, make sure that you can, I mean, they're 4, so that's not really fair.
Yeah.
But my first thought was like, no, take care of yourself. Like when I
Yeah.
used to live alone, I would do so much wriggling to get my zipper up.
sure.
And still
And it
at
makes you
home,
mad
I'm
that-
always like,
yeah.
I'll ask my boyfriend to help me zip me up, and I'm like, but I don't need you.
Yeah. This is just for convenience. I don't need you.
I don't need you.
Don't
I
think
did
I-
it for years.
Don't think I
alone.
need you for a sec. That's great. Remind him of that. That's a great. That's good. So it's to keep things on a
You
neat,
are an
on a.
accessory to my independence.
Yeah.
I just pictured like, I know that there's no seasons in the world of The Giver, but I pictured that like these little 6-year-olds
Little
have
coats.
jackets, little coats that like when they leave the schoolroom, like and then they come back, they have to take the jackets off before they like go to their school, like from
Yeah.
outside to inside. That I just imagine, even though we learned in this section there's climate control, so it's always like perfect weather probably, but I just imagine like, okay guys, you got to take off the jackets, and instead of a teacher going around and helping a 6-year-old, they like all the 6-year-olds just like
What
turn
6-year-old needs
turn
help
to
taking
each
off
other.
their jacket?
I don't know, like
Yeah.
turned to each other and was like,
It's
okay,
so-
and then
it's crazy.
They
then
only need
helped.
help because they're put them on the back so they'd be
That's
forced
true.
to
It
do
turns
it.
That's
into
true.
a Baz Luhrmann movie where they're
Yeah.
just like everything is like
Yeah.
dun,
Dun, dun, dun, dun, and
Yeah.
then they can.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I also want to talk about the replacing of kids with the same name.
Ooh.
Yeah.
'Cause I hate that.
Ooh.
That's
That ceremony was so
the
off-putting. Too.
Yeah,
It
but
was sad.
the name repetition and swelling and then
Jonas,
quiet.
Jonas,
yes,
Jonas.
all of that. In one therapy session, I had just this blazing headache, and she talked me through. She like basically talked me through. You see the word headache, and it's huge, and it's in your face, and then you imagine that getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I don't think it was hypnotism. I think it was just your brain being your brain. But it was like it was not gone. It was definitely a lower intensity headache by the end
Really?
of like 5 minutes of her just walking me through, imagining that the word headache was
Like
smaller.
the physical word. That's amazing.
So
wow.
that's what when I read that, I was like, yeah, I bet
Okay.
that works.
Okay.
I bet them, welcoming.
Yeah, there's some
like
really
killing
interesting-
a kid and forgetting about him.
Yeah,
that works.
There's some really
Yeah,
interesting
grief
like
is super easy that way.
yeah.
It's like a headache, guys.
But they're trained not to view this as a lot. I mean, this is
Yeah.
brainwashing from such an early age where they have
It's
to
a
sign
cult, yeah.
paperwork to say that they won't get attached to Gabriel. He's just in their house
Yeah.
every night for a year. I did that with a puppy when I was a teenager for like 3 months and was devastated when we had to
I have
a
a
yard.
terrible pet story. This is bad. I'm gonna tell it.
Oh no.
Okay, as girls, we lived in Malaysia. I already told you that, right? Okay, lived in Malaysia, and we had a big dog, a big black lab named Soupbone.
Cry.
And
Soupbone.
and he was a great dog, and we loved him to death. But we were four girls, and we were like, we want a kitten. Well, then eventually somebody had kittens, and we got to have one. So we kept her in the garage, and she was very cute, and blah blah blah. And we were playing out in the front yard, and then we hear this, and we're like, what is that? And we're like, go to explore, and my dog, my amazing dog Soupbone, had that thing broken in its jaws, and like it was definitely a weird couple of days because my parents obviously had no idea how to tell us about death and what that was, and we were probably like 5, and they were just like, we need to sit in a circle for about an hour and like just be together, and like no one knew how to deal with this, and it was arguably handled really poorly. But yeah, the dog that I grew up loving murdered and ate a kitten, and that was my first like venture into what death was.
What does that have to do
don't
with
wanna talk
what was
anymore.
the I'm sorry, just to go back to what was said that made you go, I have a sad pet story. What was it that was said? I can't even remember now.
No, releasing.
I just released, that's it?
Just
You
needing
boy.
to tell someone.
Yeah. You all right?
Grief. Did we say grief and it just came back?
Yeah. Is that what it was?
Maybe. I can't. I mean, somebody tell me
I
where
think
my
it's-
mind went.
I think as soon as you mentioned kitten,
I know you.
I looked-
you,
Rachel was like,
everyone knew. We
"No,"
all knew.
and I was like,
you were like,
"No
you scooted
shit."
closer to the cannibal. You were like,
Oh, no, I did.
feel more comfortable with the cannibal.
I've cried like
than with the sociopath.
several times on this show.
yeah, yeah.
Ah.
Ooh, this show's gonna break Rachel, is what Thrash Odin says. Yeah, yeah.
So
Steven says, on a lighter note, once I ate the dog treats. That's great. That's great.
thank you.
Yeah,
That's great.
that's basically
You need
the
some
same
too.
What was the
story.
point of that? Only because Amy's laughing is why she needs some.
Oh, I know.
Oh, you're not.
Okay. I'm not
Okay.
upset.
Yeah.
Oh, I
No,
was-
no, no.
Look, I
was
can't.
trying
Yeah,
to-
I can't talk about Roald Dahl being crazy. Like, with
Yeah.
oh, I got a great story to tell.
I think you
knew it
you
was
shared that story, and thank you for sharing, Amy. And I hope you're okay.
I'm fine.
Great. Clearly.
I just, yeah, I don't know.
Because
what
I'm traumatized.
Yeah. And all we just heard the story. Was because we were talking about not getting attached. You had mentioned that you got attached to
Yeah,
a
getting
like a little
attached to
foster
things,
pet,
Yeah.
you know, and you got
Yes.
attached to a kitten.
Yeah,
and then
where you
Yeah.
lose
the kitten
that.
died.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, because we know there's a pill to get rid of your sexuality
Mm-hmm.
as much as possible, but there's so many things that make you human. There's they've got humor,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got play, and they love each other to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And you know what else I thought was kind of
but
kind
grief,
of-
is there a pill for grief? Is there a
I don't know, but I feel like maybe that's too strong of an emotion that's what they try to avoid.
That's why it
That's
starts
why
so early.
that's why loss, it's not like a baby dies or a kid drowns in a river. It just becomes like a loss, and then that's why they have this ceremony of like replacing the kid, and then we say the name of the kid, and then we say the name of the new kid, and then everything's okay. That's why we don't know what release is yet in the story. The character Jonas doesn't know.
Gives
We don't
terminology.
we don't it's the terminology. So
Yeah, on the topic of what makes humans humans, like a pretty barbaric sense is legacy, like wanting to leave something behind. And I definitely don't think these people have that. Like, I don't think they.
No, they don't.
They're
They-
not
they
creating
think-
anything.
No.
Yeah, they're not creating anything. They don't make the babies.
Although,
they don't.
to be fair,
Is the society itself the legacy?
yes, because of the fact that it's pristine and that there's no threat of like war or famine or any of that stuff. But also, just because the kids aren't biologically related to the parents, I still am getting that the parents do love their children and like and know that they're excited when they got one assigned. The family that had Asher waited long because they were a little, like Asher was a little much, but they still like had a second kid.
Yeah.
So I still think that there's this feeling of mom and dad will see Lily and Jonas and go, we're raising you, we're excited about your life, and we know that maybe when we are released or die or whatever, like you'll be here. I still think that there's a part of that. I think that humans have that instinct with sometimes the reason people want to have kids is because of that.
A lot of
A lot of the time is because it's knowing
mini you.
it's facing your mortality, but knowing that you will leave
Yeah.
something
It's-
behind in the world.
It's I don't know though, because I feel like there is, and obviously people love differently, and relationships with families there's no normal. But I do feel like this knowing whether or not we know if the parents know what release is yet, or if I don't remember, but that like intense parental love does not feel like it's there. Like I feel like if someone goes
get
away, there's like a little bit of a coldness, and I worry for Jonas's dad because I don't remember all the details of the book. I just really remember like the end.
With Gabriel, you
I
think
worry
something bad's going to happen?
for the dad because he is more emotional and attached than other people are because he is nurturing, because he's around these things.
Here's, no, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I do think they're leaving a legacy in the giver and the receiver, in that
Right.
there is someone who has to hold on to these so that we know where we come from and why we're here. But also imagine what the first round of brainwashing in this community was before
Oh, I bet you there was there was
like
even wars
and revolt
in this
because
community. Yeah.
it's so normal now because you grew up with it with your parents, and it's like any cult where you're like, well, this is just how things are. We release people. When someone dies, we just get another one and name them the same thing. And
Just look at even this country in the world. Look at every nation in the world. Look at its origins. Look at how the United States began. And it was by wiping people out. And it was by, you know what I mean, doing a bunch of heinous stuff. And in the name of freedom and wanting equality for people, truly. Maybe only one type of people, but wanting that. And after generations, it's like getting better. And it's gotten so much better, but it's still like, so
and
like
that
imagine.
story is not accurate in how it is told in textbooks.
Yeah. Question for you guys. Did you think it was weird that Jonas's mother and father were revealed to like have been paired up after like years and years and like being matched up, and then they got married, and it wasn't a thing where like they met, it was like they were like paired together? And do you think if it's weird, is it so different than online dating?
Oh my God! Yeah, it's different than online dating. I'll just say that.
Okay.
But it didn't surprise me. Like after reading the first part of the book, I had some questions like, how does this all work? And then when they were like, oh no, it's mail order people basically, or pairing matchmaking. I was like, yeah, of course that's the way the society works. Like I don't.
But like through personality, through all these different lists and reasons, that it almost, when I was reading it, almost made you think like that marriage is going to work because they've scientifically figured it out. All right, like they're compatible. They're compatible.
Lack of choice, though.
Right.
It's not that you were matched with someone and that you're like, wow, we do have this connection. It was that
it's an arranged
you
marriage.
matched with someone and they're your husband now.
And I think there is like an emphasis on pragmatism. Like this is like you were trained from an early age to go, okay, this is the way things are.
Yeah.
Whether I like it or not. And it's like someone dies and you're like, if I feel things, they will release me. So I kind of want to stay here, so I better not feel things. Same thing with my wife. Okay, you're my wife or my husband. Okay, we're doing this now, and you can look them in the eye and probably see the same fear of like, is this actually going to work? Well, yeah, for our survival, it has to.
And does everyone get children? Because that's a
right?
That's a weird thing
What do
because
you do
some
if you
people
don't?
want
Yeah.
children.
Isn't
and
it
for,
shameful?
And for many, I'm sure it is. It's
If there's
shameful now.
If there's a family, yeah.
People, I don't
true.
want kids, and every conversation I have about it
You must
is
get crap all the time.
deeply condescending and rude.
Sorry.
There was one Christmas though. I have a I have 15 cousins, and we're all very close. And one Christmas, my grandmother, we all talked to each other, and apparently my grandmother had gone up to every single one of my cousins and been like, so either if they had a man in their life, when am I going to get grandkids or great grandkids?
Yeah.
If they didn't, do you
Right.
have anybody? And she went through everybody except me. She like just didn't touch it. She just
she just 19'd you. She
She
skipped
just, yep.
from 18
she
to 20.
100%. I was like, Mima did that to all you guys? Oh, she asked you about kids. She asked you about a boyfriend. She just didn't.
And then you're waiting for Mima, like,
yeah, I'm like,
I'm here, Mima.
I got some news, maybe. Like,
she's
I'd
like,
love to tell you
"Oh."
about like a good date I went on or
How's-
something.
yeah,
And
how's
Mima's
your
like,
work?
no.
I feel
Yeah.
bad because I feel like well, first of all, thank you, Nerdist Studio, for correctly saying that Vulcans are actually very emotional, and the Romulans were the best until Nemesis, and then Star Trek. Okay, all right, maybe I might disagree with that. Romulans are still cool, but anyway, I feel like me personally, I'm pretty sure that I want kids, and every time I have friends and I know people who don't want kids in their life, and I'm like, that's totally fine, and I feel bad because they get so much shit from everybody else, and I feel
Yeah.
like I think sometimes if I can try to compliment Rachel right now, it's the thing of like, I think people just like you so much that they're like, yeah, but more people like you should exist. Does that make sense? And also, plus, I also think that because you're so delightful, you would be like a cool if somebody had you as a parent, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
your parent is into cool shit. So if I could I feel like if people want to be shitty, that's awful. But if you want to compliment people and go,
Yeah.
we've all seen Idiocracy. There's too many dumb people on earth. There needs to be more people like Rachel Heine. That's one thing. But obviously, do whatever you're gonna do. And
That would be a much nicer way of being like,
yeah,
but why not?
exactly.
Don't you feel like a woman? Like it's
Yeah,
just like
that's the
very
worst.
weird. So I
That's the
appreciate
worst.
that. But I wonder because, it's only recently that I can even say that I don't want kids
Yeah.
and have that be
Right.
a reality. And for a lot of people in the world and country, that's not a
You
reality.
can't even say
Yeah.
that.
And so, and that's only because we live in LA, probably.
Yeah, Mrs. Kylo Ren says, I really just want kids to make them go to historical landmarks
Ooh,
with
that
me.
would be fun. But I think that thinking about that and thinking about the many people, and especially women,
Mm-hmm.
today and throughout history who have had to have kids
I
because
know.
it's assigned to them. And,
Or be
and-
married, or be
Or
like,
be
it's
married,
just, ugh.
or their sexuality is there,
Yeah.
where you're
Right.
suppressing that. So then it gets really dark in this, where you're like, this is who you are, and it's being completely stifled.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, who you are, you might have things that you should work on because humans are flawed, and
Yeah.
that's just how we are.
Yeah.
That's just part of the package. But that takes away things that could bring you joy, things that could make you you. And I wonder, I would be interested, I always think about in books when we have one perspective, I'm like, I wish we had a book from someone
Yeah.
else's perspective,
Yeah.
like
From,
a
like, the
mother
chief
who
elder
gets a
or a mother.
or someone who gets assigned a child, or one
Well-
of the birth mothers,
Yeah.
and
You know,
the
there is
description of the girl.
There's 4 books in this series. Like, I've never
know,
read the
I
other
could read
3.
them
and
in
I'm
an
kinda
hour.
Like,
I might
yeah,
just read.
I'm kind of like, I wonder what the hell Gathering Blue is about, or Messenger, or Sun. I'm
Maybe I'll read 'em.
curious. Maybe they do flesh out the world a little bit, but it seems very basic by the numbers, like post-dystopian, world. But there's a bunch of really relatable themes in here. There's a bunch of stuff to
Yeah.
talk about. We haven't even talked about we touched on a little bit, but the logistics of that giving of memories, and why there even is a giver or a receiver in the society. Why? Why? Why?
The way I imagine it is long time ago, they decided that everything was going to go away,
Mm-hmm.
and they lined everyone up and took their memories and
Somehow through sci-fi means.
through sci-fi means, and everyone
And then put them somewhere.
Yeah, and it was
Did
like
the society
a rite
decide?
of
Like,
passage.
is there still like a little bit of a heart at the core of this sociopath, where like the society is like, well, we can't forget everything.
I think the giver is a reaction to mistakes in the past. Like they didn't have a giver before, and then they were like, well, we really messed everything up. We really finally have learned that history, repeats itself. So
we need to have somebody who is on the council
they're doing it.
to remind us why this is good. Well, then that's interesting because I feel like, and maybe it's only because I just watched the movie, and maybe then I'll have a problem with the movie. But at the end of the story, I feel like, well, I guess we'll get into that later. But I'm like, that's not really how the giver is acting. The giver, at least even in this beginning part, is acting like he's like a cool elder. He's not like a regular elder. He's like the cool elder.
Him. They're like, you get to we didn't even talk about this.
Yeah,
like,
you get to
ask
lie.
Anyone anything.
Oh yeah,
you get to lie.
And he's like, I could ask my dad, but I don't. He's like, does everyone get to lie?
Yeah.
What's the deal? And I don't think so. I think it's him because I think he has to be the weight. He has to carry the weight.
It's a secret identity now. It's a superhero secret identity.
Of our mistakes, of our humanness. Mm-hmm. And they said they need someone alone. They need someone separate. They need someone who can see. He has this, with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. And I think he's like a mutant. I mean, I think that there are people in the society who have this gift, and they're using them to put all of that on them and put that responsibility on them to keep it away from everyone else. That's what I think.
Well said. You still with us, Amy? You okay?
Yeah, I am.
It's making you think a lot.
It is making me think a lot. Yeah, it's so manipulative. Like it's just like he's trapped. That guy's trapped in a locked room by himself.
The receiver?
The receiver.
I would rather have that job though than any job, but that's only because we have a frame of reference. I would rather have the job where I'm allowed to look at a book than you like.
But everything's relative, right? Like if you were in that world, like would you? Like
I did. Yeah. It's like it begs the question. You've got a character in a world, Jonas here, who like everybody sees black and white, and Jonas is the one that sees things in color. What if there are things that we can't even see yet, guys?
You started this last time.
What if there's wavelengths and what if there's
100% of stuff we can't see?
Time, and what if the fourth dimension is
there's 100% stuff we
matter
can't see. And other dimensions, and it's a whole
time.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that Superman sees that shit? Because he has all those like enhanced.
No, I don't think Superman.
And that's
goes
what makes
that
Superman
far.
Superman.
I don't think he transcends physics.
I think
false.
Maybe,
he kind of does.
What about
proof?
Not that kind of physics.
Proof.
Not microphysics.
Proof. There's this one comic book where
interdimensional
Superman can see like an aura around a living thing, which is why he thinks that life is precious. Because he can see around animals and people and even plants, like with his like microscopic sort of telescopic vision, he can see this aura, and then when something dies, it goes away, and it's this beautiful sort of like rainbowy thing that's around people. And when somebody dies, it goes away. So he's like, life is precious. I need to protect it all.
Well, I had a very annoying thing happen where I was like, I told someone, I was like, I'm into string theory. I like read a bunch of books on string theory. That was really fun for me, and I wrote emails to Brian Greene, and then they were like, yeah, but string theory is kind of on its way out. It's not popular anymore. I was like, oh my God, this was like 5 years ago, and now I've got to be on the hip like physics train. Yeah. It's so annoying.
No, and you
can
keep liking string theory. It's the universe. It's not going to go out of style just because it's not popular.
There's something else that's like taking its place. That whatever.
But
what's the new haps now? Dark matter.
I think dark matter's always been a thing.
Okay.
It's always been a very intriguing thing. Gravity. My whole string theory. I don't remember the email I wrote, but it was like, this is how, because no one knows what gravity actually is. So it was a way that like, after reading these books, I went down a dark rabbit hole like Game of Thrones. I was like, this is how we can explain what gravity is.
Rabbit black hole.
Yeah.
I have one blow your mind moment, and
Go.
then we'll get to what we think for the next section.
Okay.
So at CERN, which is the Swiss, where they have the Hadron Collider.
The thing.
It's
where the Flash got his powers. Yes, keep going.
They're
Thank you.
definitely going to go in Ant-Man and the Wasp to figure out
they better where the Wasp is. Let's go get Michelle Pfeiffer out of that dimension. Come on.
Which is so dope. I love Michelle Pfeiffer. But there's a theory that they, like, when they were testing matter and antimatter, which they were like, BT dubs, this could destroy the universe if we did it wrong, opened a wormhole, and that's why everything that happens now feels like it's random, and we're in the weirdest timeline where everything
Fuck, dude.
And it happened probably last year when they were testing it, and then everything went to shit.
Oh my God.
Everything went crazy.
Donald Trump.
Yep, everything. And everything that you're like, that couldn't happen, has happened. Blame CERN.
Oh, I hope that's true, and I hope we
can find our way back to
it. And we'll reset.
Yes, this has been Alpha Book Club where we blow your mind, man. Okay, so for the next section, we have 2 more to go. We're really getting into the meat of it now. Are you guys still liking it so far?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like
100%.
The Giver.
I do like The Giver.
All right.
I like that it did end on The Giver.
I mean, yeah, I'll read that part as Jeff
said
Bridges
it.
right now.
Um,
The man had sat back down in his comfortable, which it's just that I don't know your name. I thought you were the receiver, but now you say I'm the receiver, so I don't know what to call you. The man had sat back down in the comfortable upholstered chair. He moved his shoulders around as if to ease away an aching sensation. He seemed terribly weary. Call me the Giver, he told Jonas.
Nice.
True grit.
True grit. Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining us again.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for
much
having
fun.
me. This was really
You have
fun.
to come
Thanks
back.
for your shares.
Yes.
The good
Oof.
ones and the dark ones.
And
Jeez,
the very
ooh.
sad
I know.
ones.
Boy.
Where can everyone find you?
I am at Vorpal Sword on all of the things, and I'm the writer for Mothership, and that's where you can find me.
Mothership, which airs
Mothership is on Thursdays, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time.
woo on
On Geek and Sundry Switch, Nerdist YouTube, and ProjectAlpha.com.
Yes! Yay! Hector, where can everyone find you? Everywhere?
Data says, I just want to put this out there. If I had a woman that spent time to write me an email about her explanation for gravity in relation to string theory, I'd keep her. Yeah.
Data.
Data was complimenting you on your dress. Data, a little thirsty, but Data's trying, saying real nice things. Real nice things.
I am
really good.
appreciating it. Thank you. Data.
What's that? Where can you find me on the internet?
Well, you're on Mothership as
I'm
well.
on Mothership as well, so you can watch that tomorrow and watch Geek and Sundry later because Star Trek RPG called
Yeah.
Shield of Tomorrow. So it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Tune in. Yay. You guys, your homework this week is to read up to the end of chapter 16. Stop at chapter 17, or don't, but just don't spoil anyone. Next week, we'll be voting on our genre vote. We're going to vote on horror subgenre, so send us your suggestions. I'm
Oh,
so
shit.
excited for October. We also, on Nerdist.com, are going to be celebrating Nerdoween, which is this is my favorite thing, talking about Halloween and horror all month long, all October. So we're very excited. Stay tuned. But send us your recommendations. Don't forget, we're on Goodreads. Search Alpha Book Club and come discuss with us. Send us your recommendations. If you want to come talk with us, you can dial into the show on a fancy video screen and talk to us and tell us what you think. Just let us know on Twitter with the hashtag Alpha Book Club at Join Team Alpha, and Courtney will get you set up. Come talk to us. We're really fun. Send us your recommendations. I really for genres, for horror books. I'm so stoked. Maud's gonna lose her dang mind. Tweet at Nerdist, at Geek and Sundry, and join Team Alpha with the hashtag Alpha Book Club. We love you guys. See you later. Bye.